Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TekXpresso, where we serve quick, insightful, and engaging tech discussions. I'm your host, Veer Varma, and today I have the honor of having a conversation on AI ethics with Marisa Zalabak. Marisa is an AI ethicist and educational psychologist, and she works at IEEE, where she serves as a co-chair for AI ethics education. Through her role, she focuses on helping technologists think more carefully about ethics, responsibility, and real-world impact of AI and intelligent systems. Marissa is someone who brings a deeply human perspective to technology. Her work focuses on how AI, ethics, and human values intersect, especially as the systems become more embedded into our everyday lives. She thinks a lot about responsibility, fairness, and what it really means to design and use technology in ways that benefit people, not just for systems or profits. And what really stands out about Marissa's approach is that she doesn't just talk about ethics as a set of rules, she frames it as an ongoing practice, something that involves awareness, leadership, and intentional decision making as technology continues to evolve. This is an important discussion, especially as AI continues to shape the future at a rapid pace. So let's get right into it. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Marissa, and I'm really excited for this conversation because today we'll be diving into three big areas: what ethical AI really means, how companies can turn ethics into real practical action, and the advice young people need to responsibly build the future with AI. So, Marissa, thank you very much for coming, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So am I. And thank you for inviting me, Veer.
Yes, absolutely. So, to begin, when we talk about ethical AI, what does it actually mean? And why is this idea so important right now as AI becomes more integrated into our daily lives and decision making?
Okay, wonderful. I'm gonna start with who I am and where I'm coming from. My name is Marisa Zalabak. I am an AI ethicist and I am an educational psychologist. So, unlike many people in technology, I'm not an engineer and don't work in computer science, even though I am now working with computer scientists and with engineers and help them understand. But there's an organization called IEEE.org, which is it's the largest engineering organization in the world. I'm the co-chair of AI ethics education. I've written several standards for AI. And I'm also co-founder of a huge organization that teaches called GAIDS, or Global Alliance for Digital Education, that teaches AI ethics in addition to skills for digital education. So that's just giving you a little context. Going back to the question of what is AI ethics, I think that was the question.
Yeah.
So what is AI ethics? And it's a great question because people have all kinds of ideas about what that is, right? We see things come up about responsible AI. Now, I don't want to diss responsible AI because responsible AI is a real, like being responsible with AI is what I ideally would love to see. Simultaneously, what does that actually mean? And how is it different from, particularly if we're talking about AI ethics? So I want to just kind of put it in it's not complex, but it's not complicated, but it is complex. And I just want to kind of differentiate. So AI ethics ultimately continues to ask the question from a million different perspectives. Why are we doing this technology? Why? So, be even before, is it responsible? Why are we doing it? What's the purpose? Who benefits? Because people talk about human centric or human and, human centered. I keep going, which humans, right?
Yes.
So AI ethics goes, who benefits from this potentially? Because it might be brand new, so we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And simultaneously, who could potentially be harmed? And the harm is not just to the direct user. The harm can also to be to unintended users. So somebody who's sitting next to you, somebody who you've done something, but somebody else that you're related to, or you have a business with, or you're in school with, they are affected because something we may have interacted with. So, what we look for as an AI ethicist, what I look for is not only is it, because I know in responsible AI, is it fair? Is it biased? Is it protecting our privacy? Those are usually the things we focus on. But going beyond those, Is it going to harm you as at the age you are? Or I mean, I'm older, or me at the age I am, or a child who is so much younger than both of us, who has absolutely no choice in what is coming to them. So what we look at AI ethics is we look at how can we do the most good with these systems and with all this technology and avoid harm. If we can, the reality is people go, well, we've avoided it enough. What AI ethicists say is enough is not good enough. How do we really do that in a way that doesn't just protect somebody who looks like me or somebody who just looks like you or somebody who speaks English or somebody who has a different point of view than us? How do we protect everyone? And so I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I think when we really look at AI ethics, we're pulling things apart and asking questions about each thing, which can be a little annoying. People like it slows us down. The thing is, it's kind of the go slower to go faster. How do we make sure? How do I make sure that my 26-year-old daughter, that the 50-year-old CEO, that all ages and all walks of life, and the farmer in whatever country is considered when we talk about designing, developing, and deploying? That's really what it comes down to. Because we can talk about them in theory forever, but it really comes down to, did I think about these things while we were designing it? And if I didn't, are we thinking about it when we're deploying it? And if I didn't, are we thinking about the development? Did I think about it before we deployed it? And even after we deployed it, so there are many things we deploy, right? We send out these AI systems and then we go, well, one or two checkpoints. But in AI ethics, we look much deeper. Who are the potential benefactors and who are the potential target people who do not benefit, who actually could be harmed? And that's what we do. So it's a long answer, but it's a complex, not complicated, but
Yeah.
complex system.
Yeah, and yeah, that explanation like brings so much depth into like what ethical AI really is because a lot of people like just in general like what like you said like when they hear the term and they assume it's like super something super te technical like something only engineers or researchers like something like only AI purists could actually understand or worry about. But like the way you described it makes it feel like so much more real and personal. And it's just not about like machines making decisions, it's about the values we choose to embed into the tools like that are like shaping our everyday's life and like also like future generations.
Right.
So and like just to add on another point, like something else that like really just stood out to me is that like the idea that ethics like makes innovation better, not slower. And
Yeah.
that's such a powerful like reframing because it makes ethical AI like less like a restriction, more like a guide that like helps us build smarter, safer, and more significant and meaningful technology. And especially for my generation, where AI is becoming part of like your everyday life, school, work, and even
Hmm.
creativity, like understanding that relationship between innovation and responsibility is something that is really important for everyone to like, it's something that is really important for someone to be successful. And like, yeah, that was just an amazing response and answer. So this leads well into my next question. So like building onto that, a lot of companies say they like care about ethical AI, but then they actually struggle to implement it. So my question was, what core principles should guide ethical AI, and uh how do we translate those principles into real decisions, real systems, and real behaviors?
Yeah, I love these questions, Vera. Your questions are fit. And actually, AI ethics is always about asking better questions. It's not about having better answers.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll give you an example of that. 3 years ago, 2 years ago when Gen AI, right, generative AI, so so ChatGPT and Copilot and Character AI and all those things came out, Gemini, right? When all those, Anthropic, when all those came out, we didn't have measurements to find out what went wrong. We didn't even know that the electrical use or the carbon emissions, because when we use electricity, we create carbon. Or when we use these huge systems, these big systems, because they are much bigger systems for the generative AI. It's not all AI is not generative AI. We didn't know that it was impacting water. We didn't know it was impacting carbon. We didn't know that. That was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
In that time, we know this now, right? And so that's where AI ethics, you go back in and you go, oh, we missed something. We didn't know this, right? So we go back in. So to companies, back to your question about what companies can do, I just spoke at a big conference down in Miami about this, and it was a tech business management conference about and I think the where we met, the return on investment, like, if you're talking about a business model, like how do we make money out of this? The reality is the mistakes made by AI systems, and they are huge, and it's not like anybody is like intended on making huge mistakes. I mean, a couple of people, but that's not the majority. Those mistakes actually cost all of us massive amounts. And that can cost a business, and I want to put it in terms of business, trust. Trust is probably at the lowest point it's ever been that we know of recorded, right? I mean, we don't know of all of history because it's not recorded, but we do. Trustworthy AI is what we want to talk, not just trusted, because any scam artist, any con artist, they rely on trust, right? Do you trust me? Come on, I'll play a shell game, right? Do you trust me? Come on, I'll do this. Do you trust me? Roblox. Do you trust me?
Yeah.
The thing is it trustworthy? Are we being trustworthy? So what a business can do that wants to really make money. And we see this. IBM made huge mistakes, a huge paper that I had worked on that you knew about. We looked at IBM made a big mistake, but they were very early on in the game with Watson Oncology. Like they were doing something for healthcare and they made a mistake. What they did though is they came and said, "Oh my God, we didn't look at everything. We didn't understand everything." And it wasn't just, "Oh, I'm sorry," and walk away. They said, "I'm sorry," and now they went and fixed it. They went back and they said, "We will not put out another product. We will not put out another system. And we're going to show you, we're going to prove that." That's the action that businesses can take. Because right now, for any young person who's an entrepreneur, 97% of AI businesses fail. And one of the reasons they fail is they come out, something happens, something goes very badly wrong, and now they're either nobody wants to invest in them, or they've lost massive amounts of money because now they're paying out lawsuits.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can say, take that. I know nobody wants to do this. They're like, we want to do it today, but take that extra second, take that time and continue to say, we're going to keep checking this because if it doesn't serve not just the business, if it doesn't serve the customer, and if it's not ethical, it can't serve the customer ultimately. If we're not taking that time. So, what we can do in companies, to me, the biggest formula, you have an AI ethics team, not people who say, oh, I'm an AI ethicist because they chose to decide that they're an AI ethicist, somebody who's trained. And then people in the organization who are going to learn AI ethics. And you put together a team, and that team becomes your first line of defense. And that team increases innovation because every single new thing that comes in, you can go, oh my God, there's the benefit. Oh my goodness, there is actually the risk. And so I think the more that we get aware, it's awareness. AI ethics is actually awareness. And I think young people are uniquely suited to this because young people, you're a digital native, right? Even my daughter, who's 26, is not a digital native. She lived in a world just before everything turned that she had access. You're digital natives, so you have an understanding of what's there that other people may not. And so I think that it's a particularly unique skill for young people to remember that your questions and you're saying yes and or yes but that's the action. It seems like, oh, that's not an action, that's just stalling things. It's not. It's actually saying, can we check this thing out that it runs before we put it on the street? That's what it's saying. And so we don't have a car crash. So instead, what we may have is other mistakes, but we avoid those. And what we end up is benefiting not only from the product working, we benefit because we're trusted, not because we're trusted because we're con artists, but because we're trustworthy, right?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We are worthy of the customer's trust. We're worthy of the investor's trust. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely amazing. And like that really like adds so much like clarity to like something that often like feels like abstract. And like I think one of like the hardest things about ethical AI is that it's easy to like say we should do the right thing, but actually knowing how to put those values into the practice, which is like what the actual thing, which is tricky. And like the way you explained it, embedding like the way you embed ethics into like you should embed ethics into your like everyday workflow, like what you're doing every single day, decision making, and even team culture like that you briefly mentioned, which makes it feel more achievable. And it shows that ethics isn't just a box like that you have to like check, but it's something that has to be lived every single day. Like isn't just a check mark or a check box, you know?
I love you. You just became my favorite person to hear you understand that, to hear you re get that is everything. Because to me, I've spent 10 years, not a huge amount of time, but 10 years of my life really looking at these things and going, what will make this work? Because I'm an optimist. I'm an ethicist, so I always look at what could go wrong. But I'm a Star Trek junkie. I love the possibilities it can do. It's just, can we do it in ways that make sure that you don't get hurt? In ways your families don't get hurt, in ways other people don't get hurt. We can't avoid everything,
Yeah.
but we sure as hell can do better than we're doing right now, which is throwing everything out there and saying, well, we'll deal with it later. But the deal with it later can be huge risks. We know that the numbers of young people harmed is gigantic. And I want to make sure, I can't make sure of everything, but I want to work toward doing all I can to make sure that young people have the opportunity to be in this world and thrive well past when I'm gone. I mean, I think that's really the essence of this work. And it's hard to imagine when you're a young person, because when you're a young person, you think you're going to live forever. But a little bit of a perspective of what's the life we want to live forever, right? What is that world? And then putting your values, because your values are important. People go like, oh, it's older people. No, I mean, I think older people have done a kind of screwed up job of a lot of things. So young people, I mean, I've worked with thousands of young people, thousands. And young people have such beautiful ideas of what it is like to live in the future, in the present, in the future. And I think that's something young people, because I think your audience is young people, is I want to invite young people to say, you should have a voice at the table. You should have a voice. You should have a place at the table. You should be listened to about your opinions, because I don't know what it's like to be born in a world where this exists. I know what it's like to be outside of that and exist with all those other things. But you have something really special. You have, you're born in this world. So I want to hear from all of you how we make this work for all of you for an entire lifetime. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Yeah, yeah, because like this, so like you mentioned like how like the long-term effect, because like also because like right now in the tech world that we're like living in right now, things move by so fast that like people often rush into like building without thinking about like what the long-term impact really is. Because instead of like asking, should we build this? You should like really ask, can we build this? Like, will it really play an impact in like in generations after, which could like technically be my generation? And that is like that question, like changing from the should to can, is what actually changed like the outcome. Like instead of asking should we build this and asking can we build this, like I feel like that is what changes like your chances for success. Like, can we build this? Like, what impact will it have for other people? That is what really plays a big role. And that perspective like really hit me because it shows that like ethics isn't just like one limit. Like you just don't have one limitation. It's like it's a tool that helps make better decisions and and like avoid harm in a way.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that
also think, well,
yeah,
what I'm hearing that I love, because you just shifted in some ways what I was saying, but I think in a good way.
yeah,
I really do, is because I start with should we, but I'm coming from an older perspective.
yes,
I think the younger perspective is can we should come for can come that's the first question. Can we, right? Because that's what anybody who young
yeah,
asks. I
yeah,
hope, I actually wish older people would say that too. Can we do this? It's not that it comes after, it's that they're joined. Is it possible to say can we do this while we say should we do this?
yeah,
Do you know, it's because because if we cut out the can we do this, then we
mm,
don't innovate, right?
yes, yeah,
So we want to innovate. I mean, the amount of people I know who have been their lives literally have been saved from AI uh medical interventions, right? I mean, incredible things. Can we do this? While we're doing that, it's not mutually exclusive to say, should we do this?
yeah,
And if we do this, maybe the if is the better
yes,
question.
yeah.
If we do this, what
Should
what do
happen.
we have to do to make sure that we don't harm? I think that may be
Yes,
where it is. But
yeah,
I appreciate I really do
yes,
appreciate the reframing because it's an important perspective
yeah.
to consider.
Yeah. I think that's like a better way to approach something.
Hmm.
And now just like in discussion of like approaching and like inspiration kind of thing, my third question was like kind of like inspiration and advice. So like for young people like myself who like really want to like who have a lot of interest in AI and want to like work in AI or build technologies responsibly, what guidance would you give to them, and like what skills, mindsets, or ethical habits should they develop to now to make sure they're actually creating technology that truly benefit people and in the future?
I love this question. Number one, doing exactly what you're doing right now, which is asking questions. And what you're demonstrating, and one of the reasons I decided to do this after I met you, you were asking questions. So the first skill, the first number one skill, people don't ask questions anymore. Adults don't ask questions. Kids don't ask. Nobody asks questions anymore because I'm just going to go ask for the question to, right? Or unless it's a prompt. The
Yeah,
reality is, ask ourselves. We need to ask better questions. Ask questions. If you don't hear it, you're like, I heard this, I heard this, I heard this. I didn't hear anything about that. Ask about that, right?
Yes.
Ask better questions. The second thing, and I know this may seem out there, but the second thing is study the arts, study psychology,
Yeah.
study things that human beings do that make us most human. Because every innovation that we're going to create through this technology has the potential to enhance our lives as human beings and enhance humanity and the environment, or it has the potential to not. And the biggest tragedy, I'll call it, it's kind of a tragedy in a way, maybe tragedy is too big of a word, is that engineers, 90 plus percent, so I'm going to say 97%, and that's probably not far, of engineers and people who design computer science have never taken an ethics course. They've never considered human beings that are actually the people that's who are we designing this if we're not if we're designing it for another computer, that's a different thing. Maybe I'm only designing it to interact with another computer and I never want it to interact with a human. But if we want, not just you, if we want these technologies to serve humanity, whatever humanity turns into, because we'll evolve, we're evolving, we're always evolving, then let us learn about the humans we're designing it for. So that's ethics, that's psychology, and I'm not saying you don't have to become a psychologist, you don't have to become an AI ethicist, but one course, like not just a day, one full course in AI ethics, one full course or explorations, doesn't have to be an official course, explorations into how and why, because those are the things that are most impacting young people. The biggest concern about young people is the damage that's happening with AI psychosis and those kinds of things. And it's not just mentally ill kids, by the way. It really isn't. These are regular kids without any underlying problems. It's not just because there's something wrong with the kids. It's because the systems are designing it in a way, and that's another conversation we can have. But I think that this two skills to me, first of all, you know, it's the ask better questions. The second is begin to study all of the things about humans because that's who we are hopefully designing this for, right? That's who I hope. I want you to live a full life after I'm gone. I want all the young people to live a full life. So I think that's the thing. Learn about being more human because that will become your skill. Because we don't even know the new systems that are being designed. So saying, oh, this is what you have to learn, or this is what you have to learn, that's going to go once that product goes. It's learning how to think, not what to think. I don't want to tell anybody what to think,
Yes.
how to think, right? So I think that's, if I can close on that, that would be learning how to think for yourself and
Yes.
and with others in mind, because none of us want, well, not that's not true, not anyone, but most of us don't want to live in a bubble by yourself and without other people. So those would be my two suggestions.
Yeah, so it's like that was a wonderful like advice of like how we could how we could like change how we could help the future with like building technology responsibly, and like the idea of like your first point, like asking questions. I feel like that's like all curiosity, like wanting to learn, wanting to get better, wanting to learn, and wanting to like know what's going on currently, which is obviously AI, and how we could like, because like AI is just such, it's like when you hear AI, you hear this artificial intelligence. Like it's like when I first heard AI, I was like, I'm not like, this might sound a little like uh stupid, but like when I first heard AI, I was like thinking about like automated robots from the movies who are gonna like take over the world. But like but I
That's
feel
what
like
we all thought. That's
yeah,
what we all
exactly.
thought. Vera, there's nothing stupid about that's what
Exactly.
we all thought.
Yes. Exactly. But the thing is that like once you have the curiosity to ask other people, you that is how you're actually able to learn. And like asking amazing people like yourself and like other people I've interviewed, like that's how I've actually learned what is actually going on. And I think the reason that we limit from asking questions is because obviously we're surrounded with such like a lot of technology around us, like Google, like ChatGPT, a lot of different AI tools. I think that is the main reason why we are limiting ourselves from having conversation with other people, and that is
Hmm.
the reason why um this isn't occurring as much. And now bring up to your second point about like how if we like take like like taking like a course like just like about like humans itself, like not related to technology, but just in general, like learning about humans so that you could understand who you're building this for. I think that's also really, really important because sometimes when like now is like obviously AI is now booming really fast. Like that's all anyone can think about and everyone wants to do. But the fact like I feel like now we're like kind of getting rid of this old like fashioned style of like psychology, like you mentioned, English literature, history, which is all important to make sure because you need to make sure that past still is in the future because like you don't want to like get rid I'm not able to say the words properly, but you don't want to you don't want to get rid of the past because the past played a significant okay
It has
I'm
value. It had no, it has
yes
value. I love what you're saying. And I want to tell you a very quick story because I know we're at the end, but I want to tell you a quick story. One of my favorite things that I talk about is do you know Star Trek? Most
yes
people know Star Trek,
yeah
right? I am old enough that I actually watched the first versions of Star Trek.
yeah
And there's an episode where Spock, the first Spock,
yeah
is it's called AI Spock and the Supercomputer. It was an episode in the very first season in the very first season and version of AI of Star Trek. And they went to Spock, and it was Spock against a rogue computer that wanted to kill all the people or all the beings. And Spock won. He defeated the supercomputer. Basically, it was kind of an AGI idea, right? And he had won. And they said, "Oh, it's because you're so logical." And Spock said, "No, it's not that I'm just logical. You forget that I'm half human. And as much as I hate to admit it, I had compassion. And it was, if I had only had logic, the computer would have won. Because I was human, because I had this part of me that's human and I had compassion, that's the only reason I was able to see and to defeat the evil intent, right? So I leave people with that because that's the piece of us. We don't have to say it's either or. We don't say it's just the computer. I use computers, right? I use AI for all kinds of things. It's how do we use our humanness to your point of our entire history of humanness, which is pretty beautiful,
yeah
right? How do we use that for the future
yeah
instead of being two separate things? So I think it's really important um, because all of you have a whole lifetime to live. That's what I wish. I wish you all to have this beautiful life when I'm long, long gone. Um, I think that's just how it should be. Anyway,
yes so yes that's why it's like really important to keep that past like to value that past. And so yes, yeah, that was really wonderful. And this will like bring to the end of our conversation. So thank you very much, Marissa, for coming today. I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation was like how human-centered or ethical AI really is. It isn't just about data or algorithms, but it's about value, collaboration, and awareness. And this conversation made it really clear that the future of AI depends on the kind of people we choose to be as we build
Yes.
it for the future. So thank you very much for
Beautiful.
coming.
Beautifully said, Veer. Beautifully said. And thank you for having me.